name is Chris Fregly, a research scientist at Flux Capacitor AI here in San Francisco, a little startup. Just being surrounded by, it was actually hard speaking at the time I spoke at because there were two other sessions that I wanted to see. Just being surrounded by good speakers, and I get to sneak into the speaker lounge, which is cool, and talk to those guys. And yeah, people ask great questions. This is one of the best grassroots rally conferences that I've been to. I think my first one was 3 years ago in a small place over at Fort Mason, I think it was, and yeah, it just kept going from there. And so I spoke last year and I spoke this year, and it's been awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it next year. For me personally, the reason I got into Spark and the machine learning and data science and TensorFlow is just the math. I mean, at the core of it, we're all computer science. We're all like math-based and logical and things like that. So it started to activate a lot of things the feelings I had in college and things like that, and high school learning, calculus learning, physics and that kind of thing. And it's more than just data pushing, but it's actually, and like data transformations, it's more sort of deriving value out of these things and finding hidden features between interactions, and finding clusters within data that you didn't see from not until you actually run the numbers and run the algorithms. So cool stuff. Specifically from my talk, I cover quite a bit of ground. So some of the things I focus personally are thinking beyond the exact values and thinking more about approximates and approximations, and especially at high scale, high throughput streaming. Depending on the actual use case, you can sort of get away with approximations and probabilistic methods versus getting the exact values. So and sort of thinking just beyond, again, data pushing. And let's see, some other things I focus on are just being able to take a data set and instead of just piping it into these algorithms, but actually starting to kind of look at the data first and see if you can find structure there, before you actually just start throwing these into the algorithms. Let's see, what else? My particular talk, I dive deep into a lot of sort of the Spark sort of internals in there. And tear apart Project Tungsten and figure out what's going on with the Java virtual machine, and down to the C level and down to the operating system level. So. Let's see, I just talked to a buddy of mine from Apple about how he became a data scientist there. It's pretty interesting. Basically, if you start as an analyst and you just have to analyze data for a couple years and kind of get your feet wet, and then you can start to expand and do some of the more advanced type stuff there. Going from good to great, I guess you just have to read and read and read everything until the things that you read start to reference other stuff that you've read, right? So you can keep going and going and going, right? But once you sort of hit this sort of stable state where you're okay, I have the intuition. So there's first building the intuition, which is kind of not getting bogged down with the actual details of the algorithm, but just sort of step back and think about what is going on and why you would use a particular method over some other method. That's kind of the first hump. And then the great is just being able to get there quicker, being able to not really rely on libraries that you've been given, but have the confidence to actually go in and start to make tweaks for your specific domain, versus just the generalized models given to you by Spark and TensorFlow and things, but actually get in there and tweak them.